Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dan McKee, Lieutenant Governor. Welcome to our small business town hall, virtual town hall. We're having this every Tuesday and Wednesday evening as well. And then we have a special show that we bring on for special events like we did last week with the Black Lives Matter and the protests. And I'm very happy that it was a peaceful protest. We worked very hard to make that as good as possible, as safe as possible, and it was. And I did participate, kept my distance, kept my mask on, making sure that I was following those rules, but did participate in terms of physically being there, but from a distance. I wanted to quickly talk about again the small business issues, and we've talked about this about the federal dollars. Senator Palmer will be on later in the show, reinforcing this. The federal dollars that have been sent to the state that the governor controls right now, many of those dollars can be apportioned to help the small businesses in the state of Rhode Island. It is an allowable use, and we need to keep on putting the pressure on. I visited well over 10 businesses now since, in the last week, and contend to continue to visit one or two a day. The notion that somehow we're over that the economy's back and we're ready to go is just false. We got a couple businesses on today that are going to explain how their businesses have been virtually destroyed through this the virus issue, and they're opening up to 1/3 of the volume that they had before the health crisis came. And so we need to make sure that we keep on demanding that those dollars that are available from the federal money get appropriated to the businesses who are asked to shut down to keep us safe. In addition to that, I just want to not finalize, but certainly continue the conversation about the communities that were impacted, that have been impacted the most in terms of the infection rates, and then in the backdrop of that, the Black Lives Matter, the protest, the march. 10,000 people or more were at that march, demanding that we change our behavior. Well, there's money again, and those federal dollars that could be appropriated to police issues, police training issues, racial type of training. That's there. Certainly, it's an impacted community, and an impacted community we can put money in. And the other one is, we could do something very extraordinary right now if we had the will to do it, in particular across the board, but in particular to the communities that have been impacted the most. And the ones that we say, yes, Black Lives Matter, we can invest there into the education with those federal dollars. Millions of dollars could be appropriated right now to do that. So we're going to continue to work on the fact that those dollars can be invested in helping our small businesses survive. And one of our staff members was on a call with Bryant University yesterday, and they're projecting as high as a 60% failure rate on our small businesses in the state of Rhode Island. But we should be doing everything we can to make sure that doesn't happen. So appropriating millions of dollars to those businesses in the form of grants are going to help buy them time. And time is what they need right now, because they had good businesses before the health crisis hit. They are buying time. So dollars that we put in there will help them. And then the other shift, if we're serious about this issue about helping our communities that have been underserved and have been impacted by this virus, dollars can be intentionally allocated from those federal dollars to not only help improve policing relationships, help the police department in terms of the things that they need to make sure that we're communicating in a way that shows that we do, that we are working towards some issues that were brought up, the racial equality, the police behavior in Minneapolis, which was, clearly a murder by the individual. The individual, I don't even call him a police officer. That individual that had the knee on the neck, he clearly intended, and he did kill that man with George Floyd, right? So we can appropriate dollars right now to help our small businesses, and we can appropriate dollars right now to answer that call by the thousands of people who showed up at the State House and I was there, had my mask on, stayed my distance, but I clearly was hearing what they were saying, and they would like to see some action there. We can use those dollars to do that. Let's not keep on, controlling those dollars, anticipating that we can fill a budget hole when we have a serious problem right now, in particular with our small businesses, and also relative to the education issues and the issues that would help bring some equity and equality into our education system and into our policing. Let's do it. So that's my 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes of putting on record, that's what these calls are about. Putting on the record, whether the media covers it or not, we are putting this on the record. And on behalf of our small businesses, let's talk about that. For the rest of this call, if we could bring on Joe Rodeo along with Mark Haywood, that would be fantastic. Ben, hi Mark.
Joe's not on today right now.
Okay, that's great. Mark can handle it. Give us those updates. And hey, Mark, how are you doing? Oh, hit that mute button. You got to hit the mute button.
Oh, Mark, we can't hear you. Can you come out and come back in? Just restart your browser and come back in. We'll go to Matt. Thank you, Director. All right, let's.
Governor, how are you? Hi.
Very good. I'm sure that you're still working very hard, long hours. I got a couple questions after you give me the update that I come by when I was actually visiting these businesses on the street, especially in Providence. Matt, just to let you know, and I was going to share this with Mark, but it's on my mind. Oops, my computer just fell a little bit. But just to let you know, these businesses, the question I have for you is a business that, sole proprietor who may have applied before the sole proprietors could actually, be compensated with the benefits. That window still is open to apply, correct?
That's right. They should apply now. Let us know what their last day of work was, and we'll get them all situated.
Yeah, so we're gonna have one of those contact you, and thank you for that. But we're going around, and just for the sake of the people who are watching this thing, the Providence issue last week was very tense, right? We wanted to make sure that we did everything we could, and I want to give a shout out to to Colonel Manning and also the general and with the National Guard and everybody else and the Providence Police and all the other police departments that really helped calm that down. And we were doing our best behind the scenes talking to people. But many of the businesses were very, very nervous in downtown. They were putting up plywood when I was visiting them on Friday afternoon. And one of the businesses, which I want to talk to Mark about, showed me an invoice to put up the plywood, $7,000. $7,000. So these businesses, any way we can help these businesses, Matt, we appreciate it. Hi, Joe.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So Matt, give us a little overview. I know I have one email I got to feed to you that I forgot to do it yesterday, but I got to do it today, and hopefully when it's on the job sharing or the what do we call that program?
Workshare.
Workshare. Thank you. Okay.
Oh, that's a good segue. So just quick update on the stats. The claims are still coming in. We're getting 900 a day, somewhere in that range, a little over 1,000, a little less. As of today, 244,946 unemployment claims have come in. 64,610 are the PUA program for the self-employed folks. And then 24,877 TDI claims. So, the volume and the claim load is still significant. And while, around here, it seems to be an issue of the week or an issue of, 2 weeks, and then we move to the next thing. It doesn't quite quiet down. Right now, we've been talking for a while about the same two issues, and I'm still talking about them. And that is Workshare that you just mentioned, Governor, which is our program that allows businesses or employers to temporarily slow down operations and spread out savings across partial layoffs, if you will. So a work reduction, a reduction in hours across units of employment or their whole operation, instead of having to target groups and lay them off outright. And we talked about how that allows people to remain connected with their workers, the people they've invested in. They've trained these people. I know Dave Chenevert's on this call today, and
Yep.
You know, he's a great champion for the manufacturing industry and a great partner of ours. Manufacturers are really why that program was built, because sometimes the work ebbs and flows, and instead of losing the people that you've put all your time and effort into, you have the opportunity to retain them. And so WorkShare is great. The problem with a great program, it's popular. It's also incredibly manual. And so we talked about automating some of it. So I have a daily Zoom session or a call every day to talk about where we are with the automation process. It's when you take a program that is manual and has to essentially be uploaded into a hard-coded infrastructure, it's challenging. And so we are trying, I think, in the next day or two to have the first piece of that done, and then soon thereafter have another piece done, and then we'll shock the employer world again in Rhode Island when we say, hey, by the way, that was a Band-Aid and here's the fix, and now we have a brand new web portal. We need to do all those things because right now there's no way for us to keep up with the manual claim load that we have. So WorkShare is great. I know you're frustrated. I know people want it to happen faster than it is. We are literally moving people from one seat on the plane to another to try to help out here every single day. We've just trained a whole bunch more people to work in WorkShare. We're going to get this thing moving, I promise. The next piece is the fraud piece, and we've spoken about that quite a bit. One issue with fraud is there's an organized scheme that has happened throughout the country, and it's really happened in at least, I would say, a dozen states by now, where people use other people's personal information. So social security number, name, address, and they file claims, but then they put the claim, they route the payments to a bank that they selected. And so someone may get a piece of mail at home and it says, congratulations, good news, you're approved for your unemployment benefits. The issue is they never applied for unemployment benefits. So because of those, we've been working very closely with the AG and the state police, with a company that we hired that's run by a former FBI agent that does data analytics and fraud issues. And so we are training our software to pick up on trends, which means that it identifies cases. When you have 244,000 cases or claims, it looks at those and it scrapes them and says, okay, this number of them look like they could be fraudulent based on a number of factors. And so what happens, you put a temporary hold on those. It makes sense. It protects the employer-funded trust fund. It ensures that money's only going to people that deserve it. The challenge is some people are going to get picked up by that, you know, it's like a dragnet in fishing. Some people are going to be picked up, and those people shouldn't have been. So for whatever reason, their claim triggered this fraud stop, and now we have to release that. So we're working hard on that end as well. We sent out a lot of emails Friday afternoon to let people know that they had a stop put on their claim, and they could remedy that by calling our hotline, which I've given before. It's 401-234-4280. If they call that line and speak to somebody, they can indicate that they got this fraud notice. We then will take their information and get right back to them on those fraud cases. We try to do that within 48 hours. The other thing they can do is go online and fill out that form that we've spoken about before. Those are our two big issues. I feel like they'll continue to be the big issues every time we have these calls. I hope by next week we can give you some better information on WorkShare, and I'm very happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah, Joe, do you have any questions at all
Yeah, excuse me, there's one that I get quite a bit, which is, given, and a lot of folks certainly are understanding of the length of time it takes to process those applications, but if I put my application in, feel confident that I'll qualify as a business, should I begin implementing prior to receiving the formal approval? If I do, will that get processed back to the date of my application, or should I be waiting to implement that plan with my staff until I hear approval and adjust the dates at the time I get approval?
Generally, you want to get the approval before you begin. However, what we've been telling some people is have your staff apply for unemployment on the front end. That way we can get them into payment status, and then we can pull them into a plan. The problem is every time we have to do a workaround, it just makes it more complicated across the board. We don't want employers to have to wait. And so I think for the purpose of this session that we do, the best thing, Governor, would be if your office could have people either send it to me directly or even go to your office and your office can compile a list of the businesses and get them to me. I can then quickly check in on status and run a report back to you that says, okay, here's what the data is for all these people. They're ready to go, and here's what they have to do. I don't want to make them wait. We're just getting incredibly busy, and now there are a lot of public employers in the state that you've probably read about in the Journal and some other places that also are interested, and they have a lot of employees. And so this becomes more complicated every day.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Matt, I think it's going to become, as you know, you've heard, my earlier comments. If the projection is right now of as much as a 60% failure rate in the small businesses, unless we do something extraordinary, your workload is going to just increase over the next 6 months. Work share and also unemployment. If businesses go out, those employees that might have been back for 8 weeks, but the business couldn't make it because they're not getting the grants or the help that they need, you're going to be overwhelmed again. So I'd be interested in hearing what's happening in other parts of New England with your counterparts in terms of how they're, how they're going to strategize that if in fact they have that many small business failures. And that's why I've been advocating, hey, let's get some money in these guys' pockets now. Use that money. I don't expect you to comment on that, but I just want to have your eyes wide open that if we don't do some extraordinary investing into these small businesses right now, your numbers are not going to go down over time. They're going to increase. That's just a fact. And I'm visiting businesses right now that are like, hanging on by their fingernails. And you'll have a couple businesses. I hope that you're able to stay on and listen to their stories, because you might be able to help them currently with what you're doing. But also, I think the more people will understand that we've reopened, but we're nowhere near providing enough revenue for most of these small businesses to survive much longer.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Yes, Ben, you have a question for Matt?
Sure. I have a couple questions for Matt. Hey, Matt, how are you?
Hey, Ben. I get nervous when you come on, Ben.
Yeah. All right. So, I have a couple for you. Do Massachusetts citizens who work for Rhode Island employers apply for unemployment insurance under Rhode Island under the work share program in Rhode Island if they work for a Rhode Island company?
Yes. So usually you would always apply in the state that you work in.
Okay. If you were out of work due to COVID, but now you've been let go because of budget cuts, can you continue to collect?
Yes.
All right. Do work-share applications have to be printed and mailed, or can they be emailed?
No, we actually prefer them to come in through email if that's possible.
Okay. And two more questions. We applied for unemployment but never received a response. My husband owns a small business.
I would ask that person to email the Lieutenant Governor's email address that he puts up on the screen every week, and then his office will be in touch with me.
Okay. And then finally, retroactive payments from March that people are still waiting for anything about that?
Same request. I think go through the Lieutenant Governor's office. He's been a great champion for everyone on these sessions. Push it to me, and I'll do my best to get back to them quickly.
All right. Thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Governor.
Hope you can hold on in, and we may have time to bring you back, but it seems like the hour gets exhausted, But thank you, Matt. We appreciate it so much.
Thanks, Matt. Have a good day.
Joe, you're going to stay on, right?
You got it.
Yeah. So hi, Mark.
No,
Mark, we're still having the same issue. I'm not sure what's happening. Yeah, if you want to try to get on your phone, I'm going to bring on Liz.
Okay.
Hi, Liz.
Hello.
Thanks for coming on, Liz. I know you're very busy. Yes. With the reopening and the different rules and that type of thing, I visited some of the businesses out there. They're complying to their best benefit, but what's your best suggestion for businesses that may still have questions or still need some help, or potentially, I don't know whether this is in your wheelhouse, but many businesses, especially the daycares. I was talking to several daycares in the down in the island area, Portsmouth area, that are not opening because they don't have enough money to facilitate their opening in terms of the way that is being required. So what's the advice on that? Is there any, are you aware of any help that we're not aware of that could provide these funds to these businesses so they can open up?
So I am not aware of any funds, particular for daycare, mostly because that's out of my space. And I don't think we've gotten any daycare complaints yet, but any daycare complaints or questions can come through DBR. So that would be the dbr.ri.gov website. And it says, I have a question complaint for a COVID question complaint. So they could ask those kinds of questions and we would route them properly, whether it be to Commerce for a funding stream or to DHS to discuss daycare. So folks are more than welcome to send that. Governor, if you don't mind, one of the things I was hoping to talk about was what the inspection checklist looks like, because we are
Yes, perfect.
That'd be great. So we've done almost 1,700 inspections since phase 2 began. We were mostly focused on retail in the beginning, but we have started to move over to restaurants all sizes. So whether it's the Department of Health or some DBR inspectors, we will have a lot of inspectors out in the next few weeks looking at as many businesses as we possibly can. And I just wanted to give you a sense of what that inspection looks like, because we have some people who are very nervous about it. So what they do is they come in and as much as we call it as an inspection, it's really more of an education training session. We're not really out to get anybody. So we'll tell you what we look at. So the first thing we look at is, before we even enter the store, the signage. Do you have a way to screen or at least let your customers know that they should not be coming in if they are feeling sick, right? So you can either ask them that question or you can have signage to ask them to screen. Same thing with your employees. Are you screening your employees? Because first and foremost, we do not want sick employees in a business all day, infecting whoever's coming into their store or whoever they're interacting with. So screening is super important. There's also posters same side for employees, right? So does the employee know that if they are sick, that they can stay home, and what does their sick time look like and things like that. We also ask about cleaning, the obvious things, door handles, doorknobs, things like that. Are you cleaning whatever is in your business, whatever makes the most sense? Same thing with the bathrooms. Are you cleaning the bathrooms for your employees on a regular basis? Are you maintaining social distancing and maintaining the capacity? Again, wide range of businesses, so we're not quite sure what it is for your business, but do you have signs on the floors? Do you have the maximum number of people allowed in your space? We also want to make sure you have a plan. So have you reviewed the guidance that reviews to your kind of business? Do you have a plan in case one of your employees gets sick or you finds out that a customer has been sick? What is your plan? How are you going to operate if somebody gets sick? What are your plans as far as cleaning and everything else? And then first and foremost is always about the face masks. So do your employees have their face masks on, and are they wearing them properly? Because what we're finding is almost always an employee has them on, but often they're wearing them down around their neck or under their nose. So the face mask has to be fully covering. And so those are really important. And then while you don't get a ding for it, we do look to see whether the customers are wearing masks. Interestingly enough, what we're finding is the customers are actually better at wearing a mask than the employees are. Because like I said, the employees tend to wear it down here, particularly as it gets towards the end of their shift. So it's really important to know that these are unannounced inspections and that they are coming in. You should also know that we've reached a point now where if you fail the inspection, so there are 12 things that we're looking at in inspection, and if you've received less than half of those things, we will do a re-inspection. If you fail again, we will do a third inspection. So this week we are doing the third inspections for 16 businesses who have failed the inspection twice. After that second inspection, we actually called the business owner, because sometimes you're not quite sure, am I talking to just an employee or a manager? So we have called the business owner for each of those businesses and explained that this week we are coming to do a third and final inspection. And if they fail that inspection, they would be subject to a compliance order that comes with a fine for that. So of the businesses that we're looking at, there's a laundromat, there's a couple of convenience stores, 1 or 2 retail stores. So know that if someone's receiving a fine, it's after 3 full inspections and at least 1, if not multiple phone calls to the business owner to know where it is that they are failing in their inspections. So we've done, like I said, 1,700 since phase 2 started. We did another I think it was 1,300 during phase 1, and then we did the face mask, about 1,000 face mask inspections before that. So we're well over 3,000 inspections, and this week might be the first week that we have people who would have some fines associated with it. If you want to file a complaint, you can do that through the DBR website, where I said the hand comes up, and we do either make a phone call or do an inspection for each complaint that comes into us.
Yeah, Liz, thank you for that overview. And also, I want to just let people who are watching this, Liz is championing this stuff for our small business. I know we're frustrated. There's frustration out there, but don't take it out on Liz. She's the one who's helping us. And as I mention that because I know there's some frustration out there as I start visiting the businesses, Liz, right? They're trying to figure out, I mean, we're going to have a daycare on later in the show that purchased their business. A young lady purchased their business a year ago, paid top dollar for the business, put the house on the line, and now she's very worried about losing her house. So this is why I'm going to continue to say, get some money into these businesses' hands that we've asked to shut down to keep us safe, So, but yeah, Liz, thank you so much. Joe, do you have any questions for Liz at all that's coming through on your network?
No, not in particular. I think they're mostly, industry specific, what the questions we hear. So we do our best, thanks for putting everything you can on the website and getting that info out where you can. And, I'll do our best to keep directing them there. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, we are continuing to push customer confidence, right? I mean, the only way we're going to get people back out there is if they feel comfortable and safe doing so. And so we feel like these inspections, again, while the inspection word is a scary word, it's really about education and training so that shoppers feel comfortable, because we want them back into Rhode Island businesses, and we want our out-of-state guests to come to Rhode Island because they know that Rhode Island is a safe place to be.
Yeah, Liz, that's a great point you just made, because Dave Shenovit's going to be on the back half of our call. And, the Rhode Island manufacturers put out a safety type of, a checklist very early to do just that, so that, we're providing that sense of, security or the safety to the customers. That's, if the customers don't feel safe, they're not going to come out and spend their dollars at our local businesses, right? So, thanks, Liz.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
You bet. You bet. Joe, you got anything you want to add? Or I guess with Mark. Maybe we got Mark now.
Can you hear me?
Oh my God!
Right.
So I've gone from the computer to the phone.
Yeah, well, we can see you very good on the phone as well.
Oh, good.
Yeah, you're looking good there, Mark.
By the way, Joe, you're looking very professorial there. Are the contacts not working today?
No, I'm just out in the office. I don't put the glasses on when I don't have to drive. So
yes. I Mark, I did frequent
Yep.
a local, hair salon to get my hair cut. So I contributed to the business, but also I tried to make myself look a little, more like a lieutenant governor, But
It's called respectable, Governor.
yeah, that's pretty good. I don't know if I can go Joe's route, but tell us what's going on, because I do have a couple for you.
So, a lot has happened. As everybody knows, the president signed the amendments to the PPP Act on Friday the 5th. And I mentioned that date because that's going to end up being very important. So we had a discussion yesterday with the Office of Capital Access. And I say this, we do not have the interim final rule from Treasury yet. We're hoping that we get something in the next 24 to 48 hours. I did put out some information this morning about what the intent is. Excuse me, Governor. Because there is some nuances here. Excuse me. So June 30th is still the last day for a PPP loan. So let's understand that. Even though that there is now 24 weeks or until December the 31st for the covered period, you still have to apply before it has to be approved before June 30th in order to get a PPP loan. And there's $130 billion still left in that program. And so we changed the percentages based upon the bill, 60% for salaries, 40% for other expenses. And I know that during the debate, Senator Collins, who I actually spoke with, was concerned about a cliff. And that always is when you're dealing with things like this, because remember, the 75-25 was never in the first CARES Act. So we did hear from Treasury that there is no cliff. And for small businesses, that's really good, because that means if you had 58% on salaries, then you can take that 40% and 58, there is no cliff. So 2% on both sides will end up being taken off and being converted into a loan. For a small business, that is critical. So the interim final rule, which is in development, hopefully I am hoping in the next 48 hours, because that's really important. The other issue is for those who get loans after June 5th, which is when the president signed the bill, and they end up, if they're not forgiven and they end up with a loan, it is extended to 5 years. Now, the question was, well, what happens to the 17,000 plus $1.8 billion prior to June 5th? And essentially, provided that there is an agreement between the borrower and the lender, they can do an allonge to the note, which is a very simple form that would allow them to extend the note out 5 years instead of the 2 years, which is currently in the first one. But that has to be by mutual agreement of both parties. So I have talked to some local credit unions and some community banks, and they're on board. If people do not get their loans totally forgiven, to doing the allonge and to extending it out for 5 years. I can't talk about the big ones because that's kind of out of my bailiwick. So the most important thing here, Governor, is 130 billion still left, and you got to have it in by June 30th.
Yeah, so I got a question, and Joe may have a couple, but so I was at delivering some masks that have been donated to our office to these businesses that, quite frankly, they don't have the money to pay the $1, $2, right? They, but one of them yesterday, I felt so bad. They had purchased the business but they didn't start operating till February. But they purchased the business, put all the money down.
Yep.
Have all the overhead that any new business would have. Yep. They're a legitimate business. They're not somebody who's trying to fake that they all open up a business after the fact or after that deadline. Is there any discussion? You got 130 billion left. Is there any discussion to try to create a criteria that might be able to help these businesses that didn't fit that timeline? I've visited two now. I've seen at least two that I've seen.
I think I've talked to both of them. The shorter answer is no, they're not within the covered period, so that is a problem. To be very candid with you, but there are some options here, and one of the options is if they get a loan prior to September 30th, then they would have a 6-month deferment, and it could be an express loan up to $1 million. So they can get relief and they can get financing. It would not be the 1%. It would not be forgiven, but there is traditional funding with a guarantee and then a 6-month deferment on top of it, which is not the greatest, but not bad.
Well, it certainly would be great. We're thinking pre-COVID, that would be a tremendous, lending strategy, right? I mean, it'd be a tremendous relief, right? Today, it's a little bit different because of what's going on with the PPP. But yeah, I'll keep you posted. But boy, you certainly offered a great deal of information there. I'm going to have to digest that a little bit, but it sounds like we're headed in the right direction to give some relief. But again, you just told the businesses out there, if you need the PPP relief and that works for you, you should be contacting your lender. And if you don't have a lender, contact your office, right? And
contact me or contact Rhode Island _DO@SBA.gov. And we'll find a lender. There are a number of lenders who are willing to do more PPP loans and to do them to people who are not currently members of their organizations. Again, Governor, it's more the community banks and the credit unions that are more prone to do that. And I have to tell you, they've been phenomenal. They really have stepped up, and that's what's really important.
That's great. Joe, do you have anything for Mark?
No, just for clarity, I think you mentioned that there were comments from the secretary regarding that cliff, but at this point, am I correct in stating that the regulation isn't out on it yet? No further guidance. So if people call asking specifics, we're still in a wait and see mode.
No, actually, I mean, we're into the 60/40, but we do not have the interim final rule. The meeting that we had yesterday, Joe, was definitive that there is no cliff.
Great.
So, I mean, that for me, that was a concern. And if you listen to, because normally when you have situations like this, and you put it in legislation, you put 60/40, those are pretty definitive terms.
Sure.
So you have to be really, and I think that's the reason why Senator Collins raised that issue. And I've talked to Senator Reed on a number of occasions, actually about this one issue. And I believe he did talk to Senator Collins because he too wanted to make sure that there was no cliff, because that could be problematic for a lot of small businesses.
Sure. Thank you.
And then finally, Mark, I'm following up with you though, because I'm still pushing not only for the federal dollars that the state has and the governor controls to get those into the small businesses. We were on a call with Bryant University yesterday. I don't know if you overheard that, but they're projecting as many as 60% failure rate in small businesses.
Yeah, I think they're wrong.
I think they are as well.
Yeah, I mean, even to say 60% failure rate is I mean, listen, do we think that they're going to come back slower? Yes, but I think they're wrong in that number. That's bizarre to be fair. I mean, are we going to have a failure rate? Yes, we are, but that's pretty significant. And Governor, I'm testifying before the House Small Business Committee. Chairman Amore, who I know well, invited me and Dale Venturini to come up today. So we're going to go up to the State House and we're going to give our opinions as to where we are in the state of small business for Rhode Island. And you talked about the money. I'm hoping they're going to ask us the question about what as part of CARES Act 2, there was a tranche of money that was designated for or set aside for small business. And I think that there is a number of things that we can do to help small businesses in this interim period. We're coming into our heavy tourism season. We got to be able to respond to that. I understand and I respect what Liz is saying. But the bottom line is we got to get our small businesses up and running. I can tell you from my 32 years here at SBA and experience in working with the small business community, those individuals understand what the rules are and they will abide by the rules. In fact, last night I went to Davenport's in East Providence.
Nice. Well, the Davenports will appreciate that. Mark, Ben, do you have a question for Mark?
I do. Hey, Mark, sorry about the sound issues before. Good. How are you? So basically, we had a couple questions about, is there something that people can do that are small business owners that were never approved for any aid? Is there something else that they can do if they didn't qualify for PPP and unemployment aid or whatever it was?
Yeah, I think you're talking about EIDL. The EIDL portal is still closed. It is only open to agricultural businesses. If you are an ag business, you can apply, but otherwise, no, the EIDL portal is closed. And again, it goes back to the only option at this point in time is a regular loan through one of our participating lenders. You can go up to $1 million. It's a 50% guarantee to the bank. And I know some of the banks are willing to do it, but you get a 6-month deferment on principal and interest.
And another comment says that lenders are not taking applications anymore. Would you say that that's some lenders are not and some still are? Or
no, if somebody's having a problem with the lender taking an application, call me or email rhodeisland_do@sba.gov. We have multiple lenders who are willing to do PPP loans.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
And Mark, I want to just clarify. I just got a clarification. It did come up on the conference call at Bryant University. I don't think that was their position, but it was another authority's position. But still, the fact that they're talking about a potential 60%, I agree with you.
It's still wrong.
Too high.
It's still wrong.
But I'm glad.
I mean, I mean, I mean, think about that, Governor. There's 99,000 small businesses here in the state of Rhode Island. I don't think there was any that was not impacted by COVID-19. And to say that 60% of them are going to go out, yeah, I'd be happy to debate that issue.
Yeah, I mean, you're back again.
We had another question that I thought was great, so I wanted to ask it since you stayed on for an extra second.
Matt says, when your picture appears there, the fear of God goes into everybody.
All right. Does the extension of the covered period from 8 weeks to 24 weeks means that we can now apply 24 weeks of payroll, other expenses towards forgiveness, or are we still limited to 8 weeks? Okay.
No, now you're applying 24, and you're also applying it towards your other expenses based on a 60-40 split, and no longer a 75-25.
All right, Mark, I'm glad you headed up there. I'm glad you told me about it because I wasn't even aware of that. And here we are pushing small businesses. So I'm going to send them my most recent press release about what I would do. One is use the federal money to help the small businesses with grants. That would be a big help. That is, well, it's in our wheelhouse. And the other one, which I'm going to follow up with you, is let's get a state guarantee strategy. Maybe partner with the SBA like you talked about. Create a partnership with our local bank and drive for those businesses that need money to buy time, because it's about time as much as anything else. As you just said, the recovery period might be longer, but if they have the resources, they're going to recover. Let's put let's put $1 billion out on the street with a leveraging some sort of a guarantee for those businesses that would borrow that those dollars. So yeah, I'll get that my point to the chairperson. But
okay.
And hopefully that's not the only meeting they're going to have on small businesses. That very critical. So Mark, thank you for all your leadership on this. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Governor. Good to see you, Joe.
Thanks, Mark. Have a good day.
Yep. So, Joe, do you have anything to add? Otherwise, besides you looking a lot like Matt Weldon, which is good. I'm going to bring the businesses on, and then we're going to. I think that we're going to. Do we have the Gift It Forward crew coming in, or just the businesses, Matt? Ben.
Gift It Forward is coming on right now. Let's bring on our friends, Chris, Lori, and Justin.
They are, and this is great. Chris, Liz, Lori, and Justin, thank you for being here.
Great haircut.
Well, I had to go and give a little business to the local economy, and I'm
looking good. Looking good.
When I left.
I see it.
All right, give us an overview here, and then we'll get to the business crew. But we're doing pretty good here right now. We got like 2 minutes or so to kind of go over what's happening. But thanks again for all your help.
Yeah, Justin, do you want to add something before we talk about the site?
No, let's kick it off with the site. If anyone hasn't signed up for your free sneeze guard, there is a list out there to sign up, and the LG and I are working on that program together outside of this. So that's all I really have to add to that.
Yep.
That's a great program helping out others. And we're proud to announce that the rismallbusiness.org website is officially launched. It's live. Updated new website. You can go to.
Little round of applause.
So the new website is launched. We urge you to go check it out at rismallbusiness.org. And at the top there, as you can see, the main button there says to join the coalition. So we want you to make sure that you click that, register your business so that we can join as a small business community and advocate for our needs. Obviously, the two big things that Lieutenant Governor just mentioned that we're asking when it comes to that 1.25 billion. Well, if he's just saying that by himself, it's not going to be as loud as if we say it together as a small business community. So it's important that you go on the site to register for that. And as well, there's also how to reopen. There's resources. There's all these great organizations. I just spoke with the Center for Women in Enterprise yesterday. They're on that as well. And there's many other chambers, so that we can ensure that all of these organizations that are providing resources, information to small businesses, that there's a central hub for all of your information and needs. So We're updating that as we go. So if you are an organization that would like to be on, please let us know. You can email LTGGov20, or you can email me directly. And there's also business services. So if you're offering free services, you can be added on that. But for small businesses, there's free services out there for you. So go on the website and check that out. And then finally, there's the Shop Local. And Laura, if you want to touch a little bit more upon that.
Yeah, sure. So we set up Shop Local so that businesses could support each other. So we really are about supporting other businesses, and it brings everyone to a Rhode Island business directory. And one of the things that Liz brought up earlier was this idea around customer confidence. And so it gives businesses the option of saying they have outdoor seating, or they've been secured by the DBR, or they're open, or they're offering curbside or delivery. So there's a lot of information that businesses can put into their profile. I don't know if someone can click browse the directory, and you can see that each business gets a small digital footprint for their own business. And so if you scroll down there and just click on any one of those boxes, you'll be able to see that any business that goes onto this site has the opportunity to be searched by neighborhood, or if you're looking for a steak, you can search by steak. And if you scroll down a little bit, Ben, you can just see that each business gets their digital footprint, and it gives access to the business and how the business is operating and what the business is up to. So this whole effort, rismallbusiness.org, is all about businesses supporting and lifting up each other so that we can all be successful. So I really can't stress that enough. The effort is it's really important for all of us to come together. Signing up for the coalition will bring our voices louder. So I really encourage businesses to participate. So yeah, all positive. We're trying to stay that way.
Well, I know you are. And Chris, I got to visit you outside of your shop on Westminster last week.
Yep.
We were trying to juggle that were related to the protests that were going on, rightfully so. Regarding the racial issues that, not surfaced, but kind of like reared their ugly head that has always been there. But yeah, we were on your street. We saw small businesses impacted greatly. And then I went on the other side on Friday on the PPAC side, and people were actually boarding up their buildings. One of them showed me an invoice that cost them like $7,000 to board up their building. That only added to the the that we have right now. But your point, Chris, and then I want to finish with Justin. But your point about using this site to right now you've got you heard Mark Haywood say he's going to a small business committee meeting at the State House, and yet I didn't know about it.
Yeah,
I don't think my small business org doesn't know about it. This is
right.
the problem. And we should be there, in some way. And I'll try to get in touch with the chairperson to make sure that, our voice is heard. But that's where the hundreds of thousands of businesses could really participate right now. And you heard earlier someone say that they hadn't heard from the businesses on some issues. I'm out right now, very little, but I'm hearing it every time I go out that we need to respond. So thank you to all three of you. Justin, you got a final comment or so? We're getting all those we're getting those dividers out, and I delivered several hundred masks to businesses yesterday that we knew need them, and we're trying to get as many donations as possible until the state actually wakes up and starts delivering these funds to these small businesses. We're going to have to figure out a way to do it. So thank you for all your help, not only on rismallbusiness.org, but also, as Chris said, the dividers that you're providing and the masks that you're providing to these different organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. You should have got that haircut a few days earlier before you came to my place. It looks so much better now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know whether I would have been able to do that. Maybe I guess we were open. up the courage to go to have somebody clip the hair,
Justin, what hair salon did you go to?
My house.
One last thing is that we saw the power of the people with the protests over the weekend, and obviously that was very important for a very, very important issue. And if we as small businesses can duplicate that and come together, we can demand what we need in order to survive during these difficult times. And that's kind of one of the bigger reasons with this website, and hopefully we can all come together as one large small business community.
Yeah, well, we'll work on that. And I know you continue working on that. So to my three amigos, thank you very much. We'll talk to you.
Thank you for all your work.
Talk to you guys soon.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks. Okay, we're doing all right. We're going to extend this call a couple minutes, but let's bring on the business owners. Ben, I think that Senator De Palma's on too. Maybe we could bring David on. That's great. Jonathan, great. Vanessa. And then I'll call Senator De Palma in after we kind of go get an introduction from all these three businesses. So David, let's start with you, and then we'll move to Jonathan, and we'll end up with Vanessa because we had a great call, Vanessa, the other day, and we're trying to really kind of put your story out. But your story is thousands of businesses' stories. So I don't know if you've been listening in, but we really need to make sure that we get the message to the administration and the General Assembly that action is needed right now. Grants are available if we put the money out. But David, you've been doing some great work from REMA's perspective, the Rhode Island Manufacturers Association, and you're the executive director there. So David, just give us a little overview of what you've been doing right from the time that you put the protocols in for your manufacturers, and then up to now the distribution of some of the PPE, and also your portal that you've set up to help the small businesses.
Well, we started the pledge back, March, I believe, and we had a full checklist, and well over 2 manufacturers embraced that. And that was a stimulus, I believe, to show the governor and Stephen Pryor that the manufacturers could operate within the environment of the coronavirus, and we've shown that we have. Very proud of the manufacturers who have taken steps beyond many would understand, revamping their shop floor, moving benches, setting up new facility next to their own facility. So we did a lot of that in the beginning, and that put us out front as being one of the few states that allowed their manufacturers to stay open because of that effort. It was a joint effort. Everyone pulled together and worked together to make it successful. We next then went on to formulate, I would say, a instructional every week, giving out notifications about issues, what they should be aware of, what they got to watch for. We're conduit to the DOH. Many of the manufacturers contact us to ask questions about facing them in their operations, and we can get a quick response. And I would say this, that Matt Weldon and Scott Jensen and the DOH people have been fantastic. They've been very receptive to any kind of a quick email that I give them. I'd say with less than 6 hours, I get an answer right back. So it's been great. So we developed a great, strong relationship with them. Commerce has been the same way. We are a distributor for some of the free masks, hand sanitizer, and disinfectant. We receive 50,000 face masks, and we're distributing them out. And with your contacts in the small business group, we've had a little bit of an upswing, and more people come into our office to obtain the mask and the sanitizer and also the disinfectant. So that's a good thing. And we're here to help not just manufacturers, we're here to help the small business community as much as we can. The other thing is we formed a co-op purchasing process. Well, a lot of small business can't afford to go out and spend monies on a case of masks or a case of gloves or whatever. So we pooled some resources, and our first order was about 3 weeks ago, and we spent about $23,000 buying initial PPE items. Next step is we're formulating a full e-commerce website so people can go direct, and listing all the small businesses in Rhode Island who manufacture or are doing items in the PPE program. So It's all inclusive. We're just trying to keep our members attuned to what's going on. And we also were not invited, Dan, to the small business hearing today either. We had no notification on that whatsoever. Why, I don't know. 80% of our membership employ under 100 and 50% employ under 25. So not being there was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, and I think we need to be professional, but we got to be vocal. You just heard the my three amigos getting that RI small business org set up. I mean, there's close to 1,500 businesses that are registered on the small businesses, and I still don't understand. I don't understand, David. The federal money could go to these businesses in terms of grants right now, and also a state guaranteed strategy. Many businesses, I'm sure many manufacturers, they know that they got a good solid business, but they got to buy some time, and they're going to need some resources, either in the form of favorable loans or something like that. At least give them the option if they choose to want to do it.
Agree. There's two other things I'd like to bring up, Dan. One of them is liability. Reimer has taken an initiative on the state level and federal level requesting protection on frivolous lawsuits. We've submitted legislation to the House side. The speaker's indicated he would review that and hopefully push it forward. I'm doing the same thing on the Senate side. And I'm asking the governor to take a good look at this and give us maybe a executive order to protect the manufacturers and other small businesses from frivolous lawsuits. Frivolous lawsuits are going to cost businesses money, but they're also going to hurt their PR, their emblem relative to the community. So that's one thing that we're very concerned about. We'd like to see that rectified. On the other end is the unemployment going to be running out based on Mike DiBiase's RIPAC report in September. And we're very concerned that some of those monies in the $1.25 billion could be used to shore that back up, because what's going to happen in 2008 when we had the recession, it cost my company over $20,000 to increase the contribution to the UI until it was stabilized, paying back the federal government. We're seeing that going to happen again with this running out in September. So these small businesses are going to get hit with another bill if we don't use some of that funding to support the UI.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've been talking about that since day one, David. That's the red herring. That's the problem that no one's seeing right now. And I started talking about that in March, about making sure that the small businesses in particular are not hit with high unemployment insurance rates as we try to refill that fund. And we need to be really, I'm glad you're bringing it up again. And I know that you've talked to us about that offline. Clearly, that's an expense that is waiting there, and it's going to hit these businesses at a time when they're just trying to recover. So,
Exactly.
yeah, let's put that on our list. And again, there's $1.25 billion, right? And monies can be used to help the small businesses, and they can also be used in a way that you just described, I believe, after I read the guidelines again. And any monies that go into that fund, they're helping our small businesses. Right. So that's another way to help our small businesses down the line. So I thank you for that, David. And how does people contact your office if they need to, in terms of that supply of masks and
Well, they can reach us at our 401-751-0160. That's our main line. Ask for Deb. They can email Reimer at mfgri.com.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it. And thanks for your leadership there with the manufacturers. Very important sector in our state for sure.
Thank
and
you.
I enjoyed my tour when I did the 39 tours of manufacturing about 2 years ago. So
we'll get you back out there again.
Excellent. Okay. All right. We're gonna go a little over here today, but you can see that there's a lot of businesses right now that are, we're in the reopening, but they're still trying to figure out how they're going to actually survive. Jonathan, I was on the phone with you the other day about the Bristol situation. Maybe you can unmute yourself, give just an overview of, in terms of the events. I mean, the people that I think Mark Haywood mentioned about the tourism, but also, which is a really important thing, but all these events that are getting canceled and how they're impacting not just the farm that you're involved in, but also the businesses that you work with, the caterers and that type of thing.
Yeah, so I'm the, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
The president of Mount Hope Farm in Bristol. So we are a private nonprofit. We have 127 acres of land, and we're the largest provider of weddings, over 65 weddings a year, north of Newport. So all of our weddings have been canceled through July, and they continue to be canceled and or booked for next year. So our revenue has been pretty much decimated. Russell Marin is our dedicated contractor. So we have a great team, a lot of people. We just purchased, it was great timing, a brand new tent to go out at the point. When you're coming over Mount Hope Bridge, you see there's a tent that's going to be right at the point of the land. We used to rent one, now we own one. So it was a big expense for us, but we have nothing to use it for right now. One of the things we've been doing over the last several years is we have brunches, we have pop-up dinners. So we thought we had success, and I told that to your office yesterday, Lieutenant Governor, getting the approval from Department of Regulation. They've been working really closely with us because we're in a nomenclature buzzsaw. So the definition of a restaurant versus a catered meal versus what is normal has delayed us getting an approval to be able to do what we normally do and have some revenue source with our dedicated caterer. So we have not been given the green light. We thought we had a green light yesterday, but something happened last night. So we're still working at it every day, and we're trying to find revenue because we have a PP3 grant, but it's going to only last so long. And we have a lot of grounds to maintain. We have to continue providing the opportunities for brides to come in to book for next year. And we have animals, gardens. We provide over a ton of food to the food pantry in Bristol as part of our master gardener and volunteer program. So it's an active farm, but we gain most of our revenue through weddings.
And Jonathan, when you do the weddings, you're hiring a business to do the catering, right?
Russell Marin's our dedicated caterer we have a long-term contractor. He's one of the best in the state. He's got hundreds of employees that come. So it's a major impact.
And if you're doing weddings or those type of events, you're buying cakes from the bakery, I would imagine. You're also, flowers are being purchased into the local, flower shops for the, I'm sure that you have multiple vendors that are involved with your events that are small businesses, right? Yeah.
It's a big multiplier.
I thank you for coming on. I mean,
Thank you.
Yeah, and one of the things that we can do, and you heard Chris Parisi, I think earlier, that did the rismallbusiness.org for us, and they're creating that portal, and he said it well. We need to accumulate all the businesses, all the tours that I've had, whether it's with farms or whether it's with the manufacturers or whether it was the used auto dealers that we've had, the arts, the different type of businesses. They need to kind of connect together in order to get a strong enough voice to get the policies we need to help the businesses, not only today, but going forward. So we'll be reaching out to you, and hopefully you'll be able to help us build that coalition that Chris was talking about.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to keep on going here, though, and I wanted to bring Vanessa on, and then I see Rocky's coming on too. So Rocky, we'll get to you very shortly, and then we're going to bring Senator Palmer on when we speak to you, if that's good. But Vanessa, we had a call. You represent Daycares. Give an overview of the fact that you've just purchased this business. You got a young family. You kind of attached a lot of the assets you have to that purchase. And give us an overview of what you're going through right now in terms of your daycare business. It's in Johnston, correct?
It is. It's in Johnston.
Yeah, and you have to unmute it a little bit, Vanessa. We're not able to hear you. Ben?
Is that,
you can't
hear now? No.
Sorry, Lieutenant Governor, you can't hear her?
Now I can't hear you, Ben.
Go out and come back in. Vanessa, you can hear me, right?
I can, yeah.
Okay. LG, go out and come back in. I'm going to kick you out. Kicking him out of his own show. So, Vanessa, can you tell us a little bit about your business and what you guys have been going through?
Yeah, of course. So I purchased the daycare it was an existing daycare for 24 years in middle of August. So I started, we were full. We were on a waiting list for a year. When I purchased it, everything was going great. And then when all of a sudden this happened, so I still have loans. I have a loan. I have rent for the business. I have all my utilities. And from the minute we were unfortunately mandated to shut down as of March 16th. Unfortunately, I am a privately funded daycare, so I have no children on the DHS or CCAP system. So unfortunately, I was receiving no tuition since March 13th when we were mandated to shut down. I applied for the PPP loan as soon as the bank right away to get it, considering I had so many large bills that I still had to maintain while we were shut down. And thankfully, I was able to receive it. We received it in middle of April. But unfortunately, when we came back, yes, they changed it. But unfortunately, most of the loan was already gone prior to us being able to open back up. So now I open up the daycare. It's been great, but we have less than half of our kids, unfortunately, that have come back due to no fault of any situation. Every family is very sad that they are unable to come back at this time, whether or not it's fear of whatever the unknown, or they're with the grandparents and just don't want take any risk. And I get that completely. But unfortunately, with the high payroll that we have, and then the new regulations that are put out to keep everyone as safe as possible, you need to have extra staff on, increasing the payroll when suddenly you have half of the amount of children and tuition that we had right before closing. The money's pretty much gone from the loan. I wish that they could extend some more, considering we were mandated to shut down and we had to use it before we could even open back up. It's made it very difficult. So we're trying to, obviously, we've meeting all the regulations, but it does increase the payroll to meet, everything to keep everyone safe. It's just been very difficult to figure out how to even get to the end of the summer. This is going into the slow season as it is. This summer is always a little bit slower for this industry. So it's just kind of made it a little bit even more challenging for us. But so just trying to keep everything alive, as well as not take on more debt by getting loans rather than grants that we could hopefully get that could help us not have to put ourselves in a worse position.
Yeah, so Vanessa, you represent that young entrepreneur that's gone out and purchased business and invested your business less than a year ago, and now what you described to me. You have two young children. They're at they're at your mom's or your mom's house, and you're juggling. You're working all those hours. Tell us about the hours you're trying to put in right now to just keep your business afloat.
Well, even like the month before we were able to open, working on all the new regulations and everything, working, discussing a lot with parents, and their concerns or uncertainties with, putting their children back into this environment. So I've been working open to close for the majority of the time, trying to also help all the staff. You don't want to burn them out as well. It's not an overly paid industry, but we are essential employees to get the economy back up and running, to get our parents, to be able to get to work. We need to be open. So we're wearing masks. The children, are not required to, in the state of Rhode Island, to wear masks when they're here. So we are essential employees taking care of people that don't have protective gear on. We're putting ourselves out there, and we love what we do. So we're doing, the best we can, but it is a lot of long hours. And it's just really been very difficult because the money ran out before we could really utilize it in the right way. So it's made it very challenging.
Yeah. So and this is what I'm saying. For anybody that's listening that, has the ear of the governor or the General Assembly, Vanessa is the perfect example of a business that was asked to close to keep us safe. And there's grant possibilities if the governor would loosen up those dollars to help somebody like Vanessa, by the time that she needs. She's not a business that can really absorb another loan. You already have extended yourself because you put a long-term investment in that this was a 20-year investment. You described that to me, that you worked at this daycare center. It was one of your dreams, right? own this business?
I did. I was working 2 jobs prior to owning this one, as well as finishing my master's degree in early childhood education. I really built myself up to doing what I love. It was a dream I've always had, and then it came true. And then, there's a lot of challenges. I've still, it's been wonderful being back. I genuinely love everything about it, but it's definitely there's a lot of extra obstacles, a lot of the extra cleaning, a lot of the extra, just trying to make sure everyone stays as safe as possible. And you can only do the best that we can do to do that. I mean, it is young children. So, I mean, you never know, they put things in their mouths, and we're making sure that everything is being done. But it is a lot of extra hours that I'm definitely putting in.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and telling your story, and have these other business owners listen to your story. Comparing these stories, we've got, David's in the manufacturing, you're in the, Rocky's in the hotel business, Jonathan's in the, in a nonprofit, but he supports many, many, many businesses, the operations that he has. So you all represent a different sector, and unless we really, really push hard, and the thing that gets me here, Vanessa, is there are some funds that if we appropriate could help you, and you would feel good about it. At least if it wouldn't cover all your problems, but at least you said somebody that said, hey, we care about you and we're willing to help you. How would that, that's got to would make you feel good, right? I mean, it would feel as though somebody cared.
It would be great. I've tried to contact everyone. I've contacted the governor's office several times. I've called the Commerce office, the reps in Johnston. I've called DHS. I've called everyone to try to get some help and see what's out there for any kind of grants, just like I said, not to put ourselves in a worse situation, and to make sure we're doing the right thing. It would alleviate a lot of stress, if I had that funding. Even if I could have been able to use the loan from the day that I was able to open, that would have gotten me through the summer, and it would have alleviated a lot of the pressure that's there now, because we're just kind of balancing each other out with losing half the kids and increasing the payroll. It's
So we'll connect you in with Dave. I mean, he does have some hand sanitizers and other masks that at least will save you a couple bucks, but at least you show somebody's care, and we'll make sure you get connected in with David. Thank you for all for sharing your story. Rocky, I want you to stick around. David, thank you very much. And Jonathan, thank you. Vanessa, Rocky, stick around. I want to bring on Senator Palmer as well if he's available. But Rocky,
No, Senator. Senator's not on.
Okay, fine. Rocky, just give us, I know that Senator Palmer had talked to me about some of the challenges that you're having, especially in the tourism area, and introduce yourself. You got to get off the mute button, though. You got a mute button on. Oh, yeah. No.
That's me. There's a cracking. Don't worry about it.
Okay, good.
I'm on now.
Rocky, please introduce yourself and tell us your background, and thank you for coming on today. I'm sorry for the late notice here, but we'll have you on again. I'm sure to tell your story. But I wanted to get to you with, to give you an opportunity to talk about some of the challenges that you're having right now and your industry.
Well, Lieutenant Governor, I'd like to thank you for the time today, but I just also like to say I think the governor and the state has done a great job with this pandemic, and we all have sacrificed, to comply with her orders. And I think we've 95% of us have done a great job with that, and that's why the numbers are so low. My problem is basically the delivery of information that comes out from the governor. Like, phase 2, we didn't know what was in phase 2, when it was going to come out. And for order for us to market our hotels, we need to have that information in advance. I just furloughed 53 people in June, which is unheard of in the hotel business in Newport, Rhode Island in June. And the reason for that is this information, how it's going to come out. And say stage 3 that's supposed to be coming down the road, basically I told my help that, if what I'm hearing that, and I hope it's not true, that she's going to go to phase 3 July 5th, that's going to ruin all of July too. So I told them they will not be coming back to work then either. We need to get the doors open first day of summer, June 21st. In order for us to do marketing and let these people know that, hey, okay, we have a couple mansions open now. People that come to my hotel, they can't even ride down to the beach and pay to park there. Not until phase 3. So there's a lot of things working against us. And our occupancy was under 15% in May, which is, is unheard of. So it's just the information coming out is what's really hurting us, because we cannot plan for a July opening to 75% or 100%, which I think the numbers are so low. And I just think that she's holding us down too long here. And we need to have some advanced information. So, and hopefully in June, because that's the only way you'll save July. Otherwise, June will be just like July, and there's no one going to be here because we don't know what phase 3 is. So
No.
it makes it very difficult to sell your hotel because we have no time to market it, and that's
Rocky,
basically the big problem.
did the lifting of the 14-day quarantine help you at all?
Not really. Well, it did some, but not really. What we need to know is, okay, phase 3, the restaurants are going to, we're going to go back to 100% or 90%. But in order for this and for the beaches, there's out of 1,200 parking spaces at Middletown's beaches, there's only 300 there, and there's 1,200. So there's nothing for anyone staying at. We have 400 rooms in Middletown, and they can't drive down to the beach and pay to park like they did years ago. So everything's just working against us. Everything that the state is doing and holding the local government's feet to the fire. And I think that our numbers are down so far now that I think it's time to reward us with our sacrifices and our compliance with what she's wanted to do over the last 3 or 4 months. And
So,
otherwise, these people and some of these hotels are going to be out of business. I know some of the restaurants are already going to be out of business, and phase 3, we still don't know. It's just that's the delivery of the info is the nail in our coffin.
And so what's the timing that you need, Rocky, to salvage the summer?
If she could open June 21st, the first day of summer, hey, listen, thank you for all your sacrifices and complying with us. Our numbers are down because of what you've done. Okay, we know the seriousness of this pandemic, and we're going to do everything. I don't want my helper. I don't want anyone getting sick, and no one has so far.
Yeah.
And I was in the middle of a renovation on one of the hotels, a complete renovation, which we've had plumbers in there, electricians in there, this and that. And we didn't have one case, thank God, but we were all careful. So we're ready. And I think everyone's ready here on the island, and the whole state is ready, and these restaurants are ready. And I think it's time for her to reward us on all our sacrifices and compliance, what we've done to make these numbers where they're at today. Otherwise, it's going to be, it's not going to be pretty. With a lot of these hotels are going to be going under, and you can't just have a completely dead summer. Then, basically we work on 4 or 5 months of the year, we make our money, and then we're in the red the rest of the time. So if we're red for the whole year, it's very troublesome for people to try to carry that to make it to next year. So I'm just hoping that someone can talk to the governor and just get us open the 21st, something like that, so we can market part of July and have a little good feeling with everybody and say, okay, we have 3 or 4 months. Let's try to get people here and keep people safe. And I think that we'll all be fine. We understand what's in front of us and how serious it is.
Well, Rocky, thank you for coming on. I want to give Senator Palmer an opportunity to kind of give us a little bit of, his update on where he stands. I mean, he's been working really hard on behalf of the small businesses. He's been working hand in hand with our office and myself. And one of the things that that's why we went over, we really didn't confirm that you were coming on today until late. So that's why we keep this extended today a little bit. But
Thank you.
also,
Thank you, Lieutenant.
yeah, I also wanted to talk about the fact that we've been trying to bring on reps and senators with, I don't know whether Rocky's off right now, but he might want to stay on if he can. Stay on.
I'm still here, and I have a partner on 3 of the hotels who I should have mentioned too, and you probably know him very well, Jimmy Karam and Bobby Sylvia told me to say hi to you also.
Oh yeah, Bob's good. Yeah. So, anyways, the senator, we've had reps on, senators on with local businesses. I wanted to match you up because Senator Palmer is the one who kind of connected me today with you. And Senator, just give us a little overview of what you're hearing out there. We're going to wrap this up in about 3 or 4 minutes, but I did want to have people understand that there are reps and senators that are working on behalf of the small businesses right now. You're one of the leaders. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome, Governor, and thanks for continuing this call. Rocky, glad you're able to make it. And Governor, thanks for hearing Rocky's message. I won't duplicate what you said, Governor, but I will certainly reinforce it, and I have it here in front of me. I have it highlighted. The recent frequently asked questions from Treasury regarding the Coronas Relief Act, Coronas Relief Fund, clearly and very articulately has the questions with regards to support for small business that need it because of business interruption, or those that close because of concern of the virus, and very succinctly says governments have the discretion to determine what payments are necessary. It's there. We need to figure out how to move that forward. And as you said, how do we multiply that? I know other senators and reps are involved with that. We do need to take the next step and get it over the goal line. And so that's what I'm trying to work on, obviously, with your support and your leadership to make that happen. The other part, tying back to all from a business's perspective, we need the businesses need us, but I think we need them more than they need us in some regards, because from a budgetary perspective, not so much for next year, but for the years out, they're the ones that are supporting the Rhode Island budget, the small businesses in the state of Rhode Island. Everything we can do now from planting the seeds to help support them today, we will benefit in the end. They're going to benefit now. So it's a synergistic and mutually beneficial relationship. We need to get in place more now than ever before. So I'll leave it there. If you have any questions, I can help answer.
I think that that's what I wanted you to come on and share that information. And I wanted to partner in here with Rocky because you've connected me in not only to Tyler Young and the farms, and we helped the farms out early a few so weeks back.
Mayor
you're out there, and I appreciate that, and I bring that up, Senator, because we're not going to be aware of every story. We're not aware of Rocky's story. We're not aware of a lot of these small business stories unless we are able to get connected in some way. So we appreciate you doing that. We encourage anybody that's watching at this point or will see the tape of this this program to be contacting our office if in fact they have a story they want to share. They want to, they see a small business that needs help. We want to make sure that we're delivering the message to our leadership, which is the governor's office and our General Assembly, through Senator DePalmer, through the reps that have been involved, as well as our office. So you can contact us at 222-2371.
Governor, if I could just interrupt one quick thought, Governor. As I mentioned last week, I wanted to mention earlier, Rhode Island would not be unique in doing this. I was on a call with the National Council on State Legislatures last week. Several other states are doing various and sundry programs. So this would not be unique, or we'd be a one of or out in front on this. We'd be one with many others that are looking to do similar or different programs to help small businesses. So,
yeah, Lou, and thank you for saying that, Senator, because I think it's important to know that every state has these funds, and we're encouraging supporting small businesses in Rhode Island, but we're also very sensitive to the small business needs around us in other states. That's why I've been advocating as well for a state guaranteed strategy. Mark Haywood has more than suggested that the SBA could come in on top of those guarantees, work an arrangement with all our local banks that I think are just chomping at the bit to have contribute into helping our economy stabilize and make that partnership. And then really for those small businesses that choose that the borrowing is important to them, to buy the time, and I'm a small business person myself, So there's going to be many, many small businesses that are going to say, you know what, I don't like borrowing, but that's how I'm going to get to the end of this, into this problem. And I'm going to use those funds, and those funds should be very favorable type of funding based on state guarantees, the SBA partnership, and then local banks doing their part to help our small businesses. So, Rocky, thank you for being here today. We'll be following up with you.
Thank you, Governor.
Through the senator. And Senator, thank you so much for your leadership. Keep me in the loop. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So we went a little over, but I just tell you that we could have this show for 5 hours, because the businesses that are being impacted right now, and the families that not only in the ownership, but also the families that depend on those small businesses for their jobs, they're nowhere near where the news headlines are saying. They're not back to normal. They are struggling to stay alive, and we need to recognize that. Our cities and towns will not exist without our small business community. Our state, as the senator said eloquently, the budget will never balance if we have to have years and years of recovery on our small business community. So that's why, again, we should be calling the governor's office. We should be taking Chris Parisi's from rismallbusiness.org suggestion. Go to that site, make it clear that we are consolidating all our efforts, and letting the governor know and let the General Assembly know that these are extraordinary times. These are not normal times. So we need extraordinary measures. And that's why I'm advocating to use those federal dollars and grants, and advocating for the state and the SBA to partner up with a guarantee program and let the local banks distribute dollars in favorable ways to help our small businesses. Very critical at this point in time. So until we get together again, I'll be on at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Tune in. We'll be talking about some small business issues, but also those other issues that are important. Thank you so much. I appreciate your listening. If you're still on, you heard some very valuable information. So we'll see you on Wednesday night, and we'll be back here on Tuesday for a small business forum. Thank you.